and then something to actually apply so you can actually get something out of this series. Now we're talking about females. On females, with females, we're looking at this final window of competition, again, competition day. This is where drug choice is going to be very important. We have a bunch of different options out there, but one of the ones that I want to bring into this conversation is a very low-dosed Anadrol. So right away, a lot of people are going to freak out. In reality, if you've paid attention to your sport history in the bodybuilding world, in the strength world, females have been using very, very low-dose Anadrol for 2 decades, 3 decades. Like, I'm definitely not the first person to do it. It's never the drug that's the problem. It's the dosage or it's the duration. So with these females, and again, females can take Anadrol for a good period of time as long as the dosage is proper and you're monitoring negative side effects. In terms of its overall bang for your buck from the strength athlete aspect, we're looking at some really cool things. So first of all, I have to understand the chemistry of Anadrol. I won't bore you with too much detail, but essentially we're looking at that C2 hydroxymethylene group that actually is the thing that's going to be cleaved to form 17-alpha methyl DHT. That's the downstream metabolite from Anadrol. It seems to be a little bit more pronounced in the females than the males. So as a male, we take Anadrol. We tend to get a lot of fullness, a lot of retentive effects, kind of like a creatine phosphate, 19-nor nandrolone kind of side of thing. Not tons on the neurological, right? Like, we don't see Anadrol being used tons for neurology because there's usually better options with males, as with halotestin or even a Winstrol, something like that. But females, all of a sudden, you apply a little bit of Anadrol, and yeah, they get the fullness, they get the retention, all that good stuff, but they also get a high amount of neurology and overall motor learning. So that's pretty freaking cool. To me, in my mind, it has to be that C2 hydroxymethylene position, cleaving and processing, and how females specifically process 17-alpha methyl DHT, which makes sense given the liver sexuality differences from male and female, even in the enhanced world. So that makes a lot of sense. So all of a sudden, we see, ooh, what's going to be our big neurological player for females? You could probably bring in some Anadrol. There's a lot of other good players as well, but Anadrol is going to be a very good one. And again, I'm talking about this to really broaden everyone's horizons, because no one ever talks about Anadrol with female usage. So in this scenario, you're looking at, potentially starting off with as low a dosage as you can, anywhere from 1 to 5 milligrams, depending on the size of your tablet. You may be only able to have certain ones. You need to get a microgram scale or a milligram scale to actually measure all these things out. But we're looking at starting potentially anywhere from 1 to 5 milligrams, depending on the female, how much musculature she has, how, her past PD history plays in, all that kind of fun stuff. But essentially, we understand that this is now an option. We understand how it works. We can actually look at introducing this on competition day. This can be the entire competition week, so you can get a little bit more acclimated to it like we will with halotestin. With halotestin, with the males, it does take a full 7 to 10 days to upregulate those neurological systems. With females, we don't see that, but at the same time, I'd rather err on the side of caution. And if Anadrol is not already in gameplay, then I would probably bring it in during the final peak week. So in reality, with females, you could look at maybe 4 weeks out from the competition and slowly layering in Anadrol at 1 week or 4 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out, and then on competition day specifically. This is going to be the same thing that we did before, and it's going to be taken before competition events, but we didn't talk about this with the males because we didn't need to. With the males, we talked about testosterone suspension, we talked about Hexerl, and those potentiating each other and doing all the non-genomic and genomic actions. Over here now with the oral, those oral androgens, what are they reliant on in the female-based scenario whenever we are trying to get those acute non-genomic adaptations? We've talked about this before. Phosphatidyl 3 kinase. There we go, PI3K. I got those jumbled up in my head. So if we look at phosphatidyl 3 kinase and then protein kinase B, that cascade downstream through the rehab proteins and a couple other ones, ERK over here, depending on where you're coming at it from, and ultimately driving a lot of those non-genomic cascades from neuromuscular junction and neuronal firing side of things. It's reliant on insulin. So a female is looking at taking maybe half an IU of insulin with your Anadrol, again, split into microdoses before every competition, every event, what have you. And if we could actually time that meal with some kind of choline-based aid, some kind of fatty acid-based aid, some kind of nitrogen component, that would be super perfect. In this scenario, we can get away with an MCT oil. We can get away with an actual essential amino acid product. And then given the acute nature of it, we're not going to need a TUDCA protein folding aspect of things at all, but we may want to bring in something like an injectable choline or even an oral alpha GPC based product. So in this scenario, females can use a low-dose Anadrol towards the final window of a contest prep. Again, if you're a strength-based athlete or even just on competition day, get a lot of bang for your buck on the neurology side of things. This is going to be cool because it's kind of like with females, Anadrol is to Superdrol what Superdrol is to men. So with men, you take Superdrol. If you're a bodybuilder, you dry out, you get bigger, you change the textural components to your skin, you get stronger. It does like everything. The only problem is not everyone can handle that amount of upregulation on the system as a whole at the end of a contest prep. With females, all of a sudden over here, you get the same kind of overall retentiveness so you can improve leverages. You get the same kind of driver on neurology. It's kind of, again, very similar to Superdrol for men. It just has to be Anadrol. And Superdrol has its place with females, but it's very few and far between, and the dosage has to be very low and implemented, obviously, properly. But I would say Anadrol is probably one of the biggest players for female strength-based athletes. It doesn't get a lot of credit, and it's mainly because people don't understand how that 17-alpha-methyl DHT, a derivative metabolite, actually breaks down in the female athlete compared to the male athlete. So females, if you were going to be doing this, obviously you need to have your lion's mane, your Neuropept, all these other things in play. But I hope this little video series opened up your eyes a little bit to the potential options with strength athletes. There's so much more we can actually talk about here, but I want to actually keep it here, stop it there for this day. We covered something in general for everyone, one for males, one for females, strength athletes. I hope you have just a good competition year. I hope this helps you in some way. As always, check out theprepcoach.com. See you guys next time.